And now I have the honor of introducing the Honorable Ken Salazar, U.S. Ambassador of the United States to Mexico. Mr. Ambassador.
Thank you very much. A ver, ¿cuántos hablan inglés aquí? Levanten la mano. Do you speak English? ¿Cuántos hablan español? Man, we can do this in either one of two wonderful languages. Well, let's just, practice democracy here. Since that's what we stand for, right here in the United States in this embassy. How many of you want me to give my speech, which will be short, not too long, in Spanish? Now, how many of you would want me to do it in English first? And you can't vote twice. That's one of the first rules here. Right, Fernando? You got to keep it straight. No voting twice. How many want Spanish? How many want English?
Half and half.
We'll do it a little bit of both. So let me first of all say that I'm very, very proud to be the ambassador of the United States in Mexico, representing President Joe Biden and representing the best of what we have in the relationship of the United States and Mexico. And I'm proud of the heritage and history of the American Benevolent Society and all of its leadership. So hands, round of applause. To Bill, William, the rest, who else, who's on the board? Raise your hands if you're on the board. Yeah, when you do something that is as big as what you do, I know when you board members get paid.
All volunteers.
All volunteers, right? You do it, we get to pay you a little bit of cherry pie tonight, right?
And ice cream.
And a little bit of ice cream. But let's stand up, board of directors, please stand up. I want to see who you are. Let's give you a round of applause. What I gotta say is keep doing what you're doing. Because just what you have done this year, what you've done now for 155 years, is something that you do by leading by example as servant leaders. So thank you for what you do, both the officers as well as the members of the board of directors. I'm going to mention just a couple of them. So Robert Sonnenberger, the treasurer. Our money is good. I'm the co-chair, so I'm the honorary chair of the American Benevolent Society, so I got to ask a question. Our money's good?
Our money's good.
Our money's good. Good. Aliki. You can't do anything if you don't have a good executive director, wonderful staff. Aliki, stand up. Let's recognize you. There it is. 155 years and going strong. That says a lot about you guys. Fernando, thank you for what you do as well in terms of making sure that charity works. And charity always has to work because it's fundamental to having a good society and a good community. So thank you so much. To Jose Maria, ¿dónde estás? It's not the first time you've been here at the residence, but we know all about ABC. You're leading the world in a lot of our healthcare issues, so thank you so much for what you do. Thank you for taking care of all of our people. Thank you for being part of Americans. We're going to announce the Cherry Pie Award recipient. I think somebody will announce that in just a little bit. Lauren Santa, where's Lauren? Lauren, hey, why don't all you come up here? All you Mission Mexico people who help. Lauren, come up here. Taylor, come up here. Turn my hat down. Lauren, come up here. Daria, you too. Daria, you come up here so I can tell everybody who you are. Silvio Gonzalez, ¿dónde estás tú? Silvio? Venga para acá. Come here. I got to show off Mission Mexico. So let me just say, I am proud of our work between the United States and Mexico, what we have done, what we have to do the great challenges that we face, which are very, very tough, but also the great optimism that we have in the future. And this would not be happening if we didn't have 3,400 employees of the United States right here in Mexico, including those who lead Mission Mexico. So Taylor, Daria, who runs all our consular services, to Lauren, who helped so much to lead this event and the point of the spear, Silvio Gonzalez, who's the head of our public diplomacy, and then to all the staff here, to Israel, Ana, where's Ana? Ana está por acá. All of them, let's just give them all a round of applause. Let me make just a few comments because I know it's late and we still have some more things to do here. Our party to continue. But first, let me say, the United States-Mexico relationship is a relationship that I characterize as being a forever relationship. We cannot separate the geographic reality. We're neighbors. We can't separate what has connected us over a very long history. It will always be here. And through the good times and through the bad times, through tough times that we've had, I am today more optimistic and confident about the future relationship and the integration of the United States and Canada and Mexico as a North American economic powerhouse, a cultural powerhouse, a clean energy powerhouse, and a powerhouse for democracy. And that happens because of the work that all of you do in the trenches every day, and how it is that you are here lifting up the United States of America and its people, and making us all so proud just because of your example. So let's give you another round of applause. While we do this, I was asking Carlos about the cherry pie, and George Washington, all that, and so I know the history. But I was thinking about tonight and how George Washington was a very special president for us. We had some other ones, like Abraham Lincoln and FDR and others, John Kennedy. But I was thinking about George Washington and what he did. You know how politicians, they get a hold of power, and they can't seem to let go. Now, I was a United States Senator, and I was asked by the leaders in the Senate to deliver the George Washington farewell address probably 10 years ago. And as I prepared to deliver the George Washington farewell address in front of all my colleagues in the United States Senate, you can think of who's there, Republicans and Democrats, people like John McCain and Ted Kennedy, lots of people that I worked with. As I was getting ready to give the speech, I thought how profoundly awesome it was to have such a great example with George Washington, who would give up the power because he knew that it was about the people and the country and the creation of a democracy and a republic. He didn't have to do it. Nobody wanted him to leave. They wanted him to continue to be president of the United States of America. But he chose to say no and pass the torch on to somebody else, to new leadership, to the continuation and the beginning of this great democracy. And so I'm proud of the fact that you celebrate George Washington, that you celebrate the United States of America and what he stood for, and the 155 years of service that you have as a society. The second thing I wanted to make a short comment on, because I have a captive audience, is my work as ambassador, the work of our team, is to do the very best we can to advance the interests of the United States in Mexico. But that interest has to be advanced as we advance the interests of Mexico as well. And as we advance those interests of the United States, Mexico, Canada, North America, we're also endeavoring as we can to advance the interests and the well-being of people throughout the world. And one looks to our south, and you look at the border between Mexico and Guatemala, and you look at the land bridge countries from Colombia across to Mexico, and you look at what's happened just in the last several years, where we've had a surge of migrants from places like Venezuela, Cuba, Nicaragua. There's a lot at stake in what we do here. There's a lot at stake. And so when we advance democracy, the economic integration, healthcare issues, just the welfare of a people in the United States, and as we can here in Mexico, we're doing it for a lot of other people. As someone has said, in fact, President Biden, when he was here the 8th, 9th, and 10th of January, that the world is somehow at an inflection point. We see it in what's happening with the brutal war that Russia decided to create in Ukraine. You see it in what's happening in our own backyard with a government in Nicaragua where no one can live there anymore in peace, where a bishop of the Catholic Church has been held under house arrest for so long. That's right in our own backyard. So there's a lot at stake. And so, as our team here in Mission Mexico implements this vision of what we can do as North Americans, we think about it in terms of complicated terms that are sometimes used, like the integration of supply chains, semiconductors, all of what we talk about. But the reality of it is that, to me, it falls into some buckets that are a little simpler. We need to have an economy that works for people in the United States. We need to have an economy that works here in Mexico. It comes down to projects like creating the best, most secure and modern border along the 2,000 miles of the US-Mexico border. It comes down to investing and pushing for the right kinds of projects across the isthmus of Tehuantepec in the southeastern part of Mexico. It comes down to looking at issues like migration and knowing that it's not a United States problem alone. It's also a Mexican problem, and it's a world problem. So we have to solve that issue together. And we look at security, and we know that in places around the world, including right here in Mexico, including in many places in Mexico, people haven't arrived at a place where they can live out the value that was so widely proclaimed and remembered by Franklin Roosevelt in front of the United Nations in New York, where he talked about the 4 freedoms that were fundamental to democracy. One of them was the people in a democracy, and the foundation of a democracy is that people are entitled to live free from fear. Free from fear. You got to ask the question, do people live free from fear today in Mexico? But you also have to ask the question, do they live free from fear in Chicago or in Los Angeles or in places that we've seen a lot of violence in the United States of America? It has to be a community effort. Everybody has to be involved. We have to have governments that work. Governments that aren't based on corruption. Governments where democracy really works for the people. So that's what's at stake. So for us, when we think about the economic bucket, yes, we have to confront the challenge of climate change for our world. But we have to also look at it as an opportunity that creates jobs. Electric automobiles and semiconductors and the buildup of renewable energy throughout Mexico and throughout the United States. We have to look at it in terms of opportunities. That's what we bring to the job every day. As we try to say, no matter how hard it might be on any given day or any given month or year, we're going in a direction that brings us closer together. And the American Benevolent Society does that in so many different ways. As you look at the artwork around this house, which is your house, Many of you have been here many more times and many more years than I have been. I've been here 18 months. This house is your house. So what we try to do under Silvio's leadership and others is to try to create a theme here in this house about the relationship between Mexico and the United States and its people. When you're looking at some of the artwork and you see the young woman who painted herself in the back, her name is Arele. She lives in Dallas, Texas. She's a dreamer, grew up for her first 3 years of life here in Mexico. Was taken by her family to work in the fields in the United States, undocumented. She's a dreamer. She worked as a maid, worked very hard to look in her eyes and see the determination and the hope that every person in this world has. She was here for the first time now, probably 35 years old. She was taken from here probably 32 years ago. And yet she's coming back with this hope and this optimism on how we unite our two countries. And that's what I've been trying to do as your ambassador. My own history is one which is not really worthy of recounting or not that distinct from the history of opportunity that the United States has brought to so many of us. But I think and invite you when you have some time, go into the library and you'll see the picture of a mother and a father that I'm very proud of. Veterans of World War II. Father who was a staff sergeant in the Army during that war, asked to be buried in his uniform of World War II because he so much believed in America and the United States and what it stood for. And a mother who at the age of 19 came from a place that had no name, no electricity, and somehow found her way to Washington to help open the Pentagon, move the War Department in the Pentagon before the World War II started. We owe that generation a lot. And we owe the generations that came before them a lot. We have to keep those dreams going. And we find them in the 130 million Mexicans here in this country. We find it in the 1.5 million people who are citizens of the United States, like many of you who call Mexico their home. We find those dreams in the 40 million plus people of Mexican descent who now live in the United States. There's a lot at stake here. And Bill, what you guys do with the American Benevolent Society is you walk the talk. An example, your teachers. Because what teaches people more than anything else are not words. It's what you do. It's what you do. The people you help. The young people who struggle with cancer have no place to go. The 101-year-old woman who you took care of and are taking care of even at your last days. So you are hope. You are hope. And I just want to say, on behalf of the President of the United States, on behalf of Mission Mexico, how very proud we are of each and every one. You don't have to do this. You do it because you choose. You do it because you care. You do it because you are that shining light that says, yes, we can. So thank you very much from the bottom of my heart.